Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back in an episode of Beast Mode. This series is dedicated to the painting, designing, and building of our studio's 3,000 Point Beastmen Brayherd Army for Warhammer the Old World. And as you can see, a lot of progress has been made on this army up to this point. I'm slowly building up this 3,000 point army, and this army is actually coming together quite quickly. I'm actually surprised how fast I'm actually getting through this army and getting ready to put on the tabletop. And the reason why is because on this channel, before I actually play anything on the tabletop, especially for my videos, I make sure that the unit or gang or warband or whatever it is fully painted before I actually play it. And the reason why I do that is so that way, one, the project gets completed. Secondly, it keeps you disciplined and focused to actually getting that project done. And secondly, it also looks really good on the tabletop, especially when you compare it with Iron Major's beautiful terrain that he makes for our channel. And when you actually add that in there with the painted miniatures, it looks absolutely fantastic, and that's the reason why we do that. So on this video, we're going to talk about some of the work we've done so far, as well as the new additions, and then lastly, we'll talk about our next steps for our projects to finish up this army. So that being said, let's get this video on a roll. Alright, so let's talk about what was completed beforehand. So up to this point, we actually had all 20 of these ungored fully completed with their war paint and their bows and arrows. We also have 2 units of 3, either Chaos Warhounds, or they can be proxied as Razor Gore. I also have a huge unit of 30 Besogor that have been fully completed with unit fillers, as well as our first unit of 6 Harpies, a second unit of 6 Harpies. We have a Razor Gore back there, as well as a Great Bray Shaman. We also have 6 Dragon Ogres, all fully completed as well. Same thing with this huge hunky unit of 25 Gore as well. Now, the newest additions to this army are actually these 2 units right here in the center. First of all, this is a huge honky unit of 9 Minotaurs. This is my Minotaur herd. As you can see, they look absolutely fantastic, as well as this Brayherd Stone, which I'm going to be using as a proxy, as a Cygor for this army. So let's talk about what we did for these armies so far. So this is my Minotaur herd. Now, if you guys remember, I only managed to get 3 actual Minotaur miniatures out of the guy I bought these from secondhand. He had a Doom Bull miniature, which is made out of forge rolled resin, which is unfortunate because it's quite brittle, so I had to be very careful with that one. As well as a standard bearer, as well as a normal 2-handed wielding Minotaur as well. I also had some sprue too, and with that leftover piece of sprue that I had, I actually converted my own Minotaurs. I have a Reaper Giant made by Reaper Miniatures from the Bone line. I think that miniature cost me $7. The rest of these guys cost me $3. I got 2 Reaper Trolls back over here, another Reaper Troll over here with this huge club. I also got another Etten from Reaper Miniatures that I replaced the head with a Minotaur, as well as this troll-looking thing over here. Now, I've added horns to this guy, as well as to this guy over here with the club, to make it look like Minotaurs, as well as a mask here for this giant. And then I cut off the hands of this troll, replaced with Minotaur hands, and same thing with that troll back there. And as you can see, they look absolutely fantastic. Now, for these guys, what I decided to do is that instead of actually putting on war paint like I did with my Ungor or my Dragon Ogres, I decided what they would do is they would dye their fur instead. So you look real close. This one, for example, has got green fur. This one's got blue fur back there, blue, teal, that kind of thing. I decided that this warband would actually dye its fur to colors and match up with the rest of the army. And the reason why I did that is because I was actually going to put some blood and gore effect, as you can see here. I used some homemade gore effect using some mid-wax polyacrylic high gloss finish. I mixed it with some red craft paint and makes it look like a nice red slimy color, which is what's going to use for the gore effect. And that's why I didn't put war paint on these guys, because I was planning on putting gore effect on there. I felt that the war paint in combination with the gore effect would be a little too much. But at the same time, though, I wanted to make sure this army kind of blended in with the rest of the army, so that's what I did. So I painted up their fur to make it look like they dyed it to match up the rest of the army, and they put a gore effect on them as well. So that way they look like they're part of the army, but at the same time, they're also very distinct looking as well. And the reason why I put so much gore effect on these guys is because Minotaurs in the lore of Warhammer Fantasy anyways, they have this rule called blood greed, which means that they are more than happy to stop fighting in order to consume the flesh of the enemies that they've killed. So to represent that, that's why I put the gore all over their mouths, their hands, their weapons as well. Supposed to represent these guys are just slicing up dudes, ramming them with their horns, killing everything, and then, you know, sometimes stopping to enjoy the spoils that they've created. So you see, they have blood gore coming from their mouth, going down their chests and their bellies, their hands, their weapons, to make it look like they just got done with a fresh kill and they're consuming their prey now. So I thought that looks really cool because, like, from a distance, this army looks like it's part of the rest with the way that the color scheme is. But at the same time, though, they're also very different because they have that bright red matching up to them. Oddly enough, though, as well as the red gore effect that I have here, same thing with my red dragon ogres as well as my red harpies. What that did for me is it did two things. One, it balanced out the contrast between all the blues, teals, and greens I have in this army with that red. At the same time, it allowed my Felgor Ravagers, which I've used for Kill Team, to actually blend in with the rest of the army seamlessly as well. I also have some red accents on my Chaos Spawn. So even though my Felgor don't have the same color scheme as the rest of my army, it kind of blends in. And that's what I like about it. It does a really cool job of letting that happen. So this is my 9-man unit of Minotaurs. I could pretty much run it as like a 8-man unit or a 8-man unit with a Doom Bull leading it. And that way I can make a core if I want to, or I can break it down to smaller chunks. The nice thing about my collections, whenever I buy up armies like this, my armies are actually quite large. Usually when I buy armies, and the reason why is so that way I can mix and match units and play a variety of different levels and have plenty of different options I could use to mix match my armies. After all, variety is the spice of life, especially when it comes to wargaming. Now, the second thing I worked on back here is this Herdstone, from Warhammer Age of Sigmar. As I said before, I bought my miniatures primarily from a guy who was playing Beasts of Chaos for AOS. I'm not playing AOS, but I do like the fact that he bought a lot of miniatures for it, and I got these for a song. I got it for $125. So while I do not have the cool, fancy Age of Sigmar bases for my Minotaurs, it didn't matter though because, you know, you put sand on there with glue and it matches everything else. You just got to paint to make it look like the rest. So that's fine. But this terrain piece, though, is I'm not sure what it actually plays in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. I know in Age of Sigmar, every army has to have a terrain piece for X, Y, Z reasons nowadays. I'm not sure why. But anyways, so the question then becomes, what am I going to do with it? Because terrain doesn't actually play a huge role in terms of armies possessing their own piece of terrain, Warhammer the Old World or Warhammer Fantasy. So I decided to proxy this bad boy as a Cygor. For those of you guys who aren't aware of what they are, Cygors are basically giant Cyclops for a Beastman army. They only have one eye, but they throw huge chunks of rock at their enemies, try to kill them like a giant stone thrower, and they're drawn to magic. So I figured, yeah, this guy's made out of stone, why not make him my Cygor? And that's what I decided to do. It walks when you don't look at it. It's like those angel-looking things from Doctor Who. They don't move when you look at them, but the moment you look away, it moves on you. At least that's the thing I'm going with when I explain this one. Let me go ahead and just turn this around real quick if I can. I guess I kind of, but yeah. So as you can see here, I just painted it up, real basic. It's got a lot of skeletons and stuff hanging off of it, like a lot of weapons and things, like from Age of Sigmar, for example. If you look real close to the base, you can see some weapons from some Stormcast Eternals, same thing with their armor as well. And I just painted it up as if that were Stormcast Eternal stuff. After all, this is Warhammer. Warhammer is known for having his wild and zany things, so, you know, just kept that in there, might as well. And this actually was a very quick miniature paint. It was very, very fast, actually. Basically, this came because of two color schemes. One was the turquoise teal base that I have to match the rest of the army, and then, of course, the actual stone itself. I decided to paint it up as if it was like a giant piece of weird stone. That's why it's got this blackish, greenish look to it, because I'm probably imagining like this thing was like a possessed piece of warp stone that kind of became animated and started throwing rocks and things at people. That's why they had to chain it down to keep it from actually destroying folks. So that's the lore that I'm going with as well. I am a little sad because the green on this came out a little more muted than I originally hoped. I originally wanted to make it bright green like those flames. However, when I painted it up, I thought it looked a little too ostentatious. I thought it looked a little too green. So I decided to put my oil wash on to try to tone it down a bit. I think it toned it down just a little too much. But, you know, hindsight's 20/20. So, oh well. I'm still happy with this all. You can still tell that it's a greenish color, and it contrasts nicely with this base, so that way it's like its own unit as well. So, oh well, c'est la vie. But I'm really happy with the way that it came out regardless. I mean, because, as anyone will ever tell you, when it comes to painting miniatures, finished is always better than perfect. So, that's the way I look at it. Plus, I can put this guy on the tabletop, and plus, he looks pretty good, and he blends in really well with the rest of the army. So, and that's all that really matters. So yeah, spent some time building up my Minotaurs as well as my Braystone, making it to my Cygor. So now that we're done talking about my army and what I've accomplished so far, let's talk about the last things I got to paint up to finish this army. Alright, so the last two things I have to paint up for this army are two monsters, my last two rare choices. I have to paint up my giant, well, not so giant, especially when you compare that to a Gorgon for the Beastmen. But yeah, my giant, my Chaos Giant. As you can see, I'm already started with him. I got a teal looking and turquoise Color scheme so far, we got the same kind of flesh tone and as the rest of my Minotaurs. I got his horns, his antlers painted up. Still got a lot of work to do left on this giant. There's a lot of details on this guy. And the last thing I gotta paint up is my Gorgon as well. So my Gorgon, I think I'm gonna paint him similarly to my Minotaurs. Just because that's basically what a Gorgon is. A Gorgon is supposed to be a mutated Minotaur anyway, so I think I'll just keep that flesh tone. Probably paint its fur up the same way I did my Minotaurs as well. And not put any war paint on this guy, and the reason why is because I plan on putting a bunch of gore effect on him, because Gorgons are exactly what their name sounds like. They're covered in blood and gore because they consume everything and anything in front of them. So that's what I'm probably going to do with this guy, is make him look really bloody and covered in homey gore effect. As for my Chaos Giant, I might put some war paint on this guy, like maybe paint some war painting across his chest, his stomach, his face, make it look like my Ungor, for example. So I might do that with this guy too. But once I'm done with these two miniatures, my 3,000 point Beastmen army will be fully completed, and then I'll be able to play in the games of Warhammer the Old World. So that's the nice part about this, is that I can play at multiple levels. I can definitely start playing right now with the stuff I have in my army right now that I've fully completed. I could actually start playing at approximately 3,000 points, really. I really could if I wanted to. So, I think I have more like around 4,000 points we actually have for this army, but yeah, that's perfectly fine. So yeah, these are the last two things I need to paint up, and then I will be done. So there you guys have it. That is the progress I've made on my 3,000 point Beastmen Brayherd Army. I'm really liking the progress I made, and more than that, I'm really surprised how quickly I'm actually progressing through this project. It is going by really quickly. I'm not sure if it's because I'm just really motivated to get it done, or if it's because the paint scheme I'm using is fast and easy, or maybe it's just because I've painted so many armies up to this point that this is just, you know, another thing for me. That's probably what it is. It's because, like, this is my 17th Warhammer army, I believe. Yep, 17th Warhammer army. So maybe that's why I'm so quick at painting it, because I've painted this so much already as it is. Just really good at doing it by now, I guess. But yeah, really super excited to see what these guys look like in the end, and I can't wait to see what they do on the tabletop. So that's good for this one, guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. You guys' input is valuable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this one, guys. I'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.